Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all keeping well. Welcome back to this Spurs Chat video where I've got three fantastic and very special guests with me. I've got Lee McQueen, I've got Richard Whitehead, MBE, and I've got Craig as well, a regular on this channel. What a week it's been, and what a few weeks it's been, actually. Losing our last three Premier League games at Crystal Palace, home to Chelsea, and then, of course, the North London derby on Sunday. Lots of negativity, lots of people very down. I'm still fuming about the North London derby on Sunday. Let me introduce my guest first of all. I've got Richard Whitehead, MBE. Richard, great to have you back on the channel. Double Paralympic 200-meter gold medalist. You're fresh back from the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, where, of course, you picked up another medal, silver. Congratulations. And I tell you what, you must have more medals than the whole of the Tottenham Hotspur squad put together.
Yes, Richard, get in there.
Let's not talk about trophies or medals today.
We've got a trophy on the channel. Fantastic.
Well done, mate. That is amazing achievement.
Yeah,
How was that, though, Richard?
Mate, it's awesome. Yeah, just to 4 Paralympic Games, 4th medal. Great to bring home the bling. It was a tough environment because obviously to COVID, like we all have found over the last 18 months. But to go there and do my bits and then come back, I was hoping for some more light entertainment when I got back, but all I've had is misery. So come on, you Spurs.
Yeah, cool. Well, very nice to have you back on the channel, Richard. And of course, we have got my good friend, and we have got former winner of The Apprentice on BBC One. We have got Lee McQueen. Lee, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I love the fact that you're still dying me in as the former winner of The Apprentice. It was 13 years ago, but like everyone will say, it was like the last time we won a trophy, which was 13 years ago, and that's when I won The Apprentice. But it's craziness. But yeah, I'm okay. It's probably the most that we'll smile all night before we get into the mess that is Tottenham Hotspur. But hopefully, we obviously, as you said, we've got some fantastic people we're talking to today, interacting with the live comments as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into it. Even though it has been a disaster, isn't it, over the last kind of 3 home games in the Premier League.
Well, you're right, Lee. That's why I said about Richard winning a medal, and I said about you winning The Apprentice. Craig, what have you won?
I tell you what. I won a goldfish in a bag at a fair. That's about it. No. It was funny. When I did play football, I said I was going to stay at my club that I joined in 1995, and I said I wasn't going to leave until I won something, and I was still there in 2010. And luckily, in my last season, I won something. So I have won a trophy in my career, which is more than a lot of Spurs players. But yeah, as Lee said, absolute mess of a club. What has gone wrong, and we will be getting into it. I'm sure we'll try and keep it positive. I know Lee's got some positive bits that he might be putting a spin on later as usual, which is great. But let's be honest, it's a bit of a mess at Tottenham at the moment, isn't it?
It is. Richard, let's start with you. I just want to know, actually, how are you feeling right now as a Spurs fan? Because I think the last time that you were on, Jose Mourinho was still our manager. You weren't exactly that positive about Tottenham then. What's changed?
No, because obviously my feelings about managers, and I'm still a Pochettino fan. So I'm still living that dream. I think what's happened is we're just on this roller coaster ride. We'll win 2 or 3 games, and all of a sudden we get a bit excited, like Arsenal fans did after they beat us, and then we think we're going places. But what the DNA of the club is a certain way of playing football, and we've just lost our way over the last couple of years. And whatever kind of paper you put over the cracks, it's still the same, isn't it? And I was lucky enough to be away for the last 2 or 3 weeks, while all the shit show that we've just had with the last 3 games. But before that, I kind of looked at obviously the new manager, the new squad, and thought we're still missing in those vital areas. Obviously, Bale went back to his club. We never really replaced him. Didn't get that second striker. So I was looking at the weapons that we had on the pitch and thinking we're going to still be short. And then obviously we beat Man City, and it's a false dawn, isn't it? You kind of go, that's a result that basically Man City always start really slow. We had them first up. We beat them. All of a sudden, lots of fans then get really carried away. I'm more looking at the the kind of the background and saying, oh, we still got a way to go. But like Lee said earlier, it is what is going on at the club. Is it higher than the manager? Is it, which a lot of people think it's actually at the board level? Is it how we're recruiting? Because initially we looked like we had some great players involved in the team, or is it just the mentality? For me, as a professional athlete, I think you've always got to look at yourself. The manager's going to set up the team, and if he sets that team up wrong, tactics are wrong, then he's got to take some responsibility. But if the players aren't performing on the pitch or showing lack of effort, then that's individual mistakes, individual. The players need to have responsibility for that.
The thing that really bothers me, though, Richard, is the fact that, you know, within 7 days or so, losing a London derby against Chelsea in the manner that we did in that second half, you know, the players just seemed to give up. To lose the North London derby in the way that we did, you know, that first half an hour was shambolic. It was just embarrassing in the end. Yeah. You know, I was at the game, and half hour into the match, you know, we were 3-0 down. Some fans were leaving. How on earth can these players, and this is what I can't come to terms with, you know, I've been fuming, and I still am to an extent these last few days since Sunday. I can't understand how are these players not up for these huge games. Chelsea and Arsenal, our biggest rivals. How on earth is that happening?
Exactly, and you've got to just look at the players themselves. I watched the body language as they came out onto the pitch. Did they really want it? I actually saw Dele come out onto the pitch and thought, something's up today. He just didn't look, even before he kicked a ball, he looked like he was already going to have a bad game. And so many of the players just didn't turn up or gave Arsenal far too much respect. Now, that first half, were Arsenal the championship team that they actually think they are? No chance. We were just shit. Absolutely all over the park. Terrible commitment, terrible desire, terrible focus. Where's the leadership? Come on, guys. You need to show it, not just for the team, for the fans, for the people that pay your wages. You need to show us a little bit of respect, but also passion for the badge. You put on the shirt. When I put on my GB kit, it's not just about me and my family. It's about who you represent. And at the moment, they're not sure who they represent. And when Sonny's the only person that's trying to G up the team, you go, come on, what's going on?
Lee, let's come to you. How are you feeling right now as a Spurs fan? Because like Richard said there, you know, we've seen many clips. We've seen the Jamie Carragher clips from Monday Night Football, you know, ripping Tottenham apart. The pundits have been ripping Tottenham apart this week. You saw that clip of Heung-min Son trying to G up the team, and Harry Kane didn't even look interested. You know, how are you feeling as a Spurs fan right now?
It's a hard slog. I mean, I think it says it all, right? You just puff your cheeks out, don't you? And you just think, here we go again. You know, I mean, I've been a Tottenham fan for, you know, past 1987 FA Cup final. Ironically, we lost. And that's when I become a Tottenham fan. And, you know, I've seen some dark times in this club, right? Some real dark times. 6 points deduction. You know, we're going down, getting relegated. My previous boss, the boss that I call the boss still, you know, he got the 6 points back. I don't think that'll ever be done again, but, you know, ultimately we stayed up that season. We've seen some dire football through, you know, in more modern times. AVB, I thought, you know, he got a record points total at the time of 72, but he was absolutely woeful pragmatic footballer. It was only the fact that we got Gareth Bale on the side during that period of time that we pulled up any trees. You know, and actually when you look at that team, I remember, look, everyone remembers the screamer against West Ham, right? That we beat them 3-2 and Gareth Bale scored that amazing goal. But it was, you know, great respect to West Ham. They're doing brilliant now, but that was West Ham then. They weren't even that good. And we're struggling to beat them back then, losing to West Bromwich Albion at home at White Hart Lane in an AVB side that was just backwards sideways. So we're going back. Then we've got the Tim Sherwood era. So we've got Juan de Ramos situation. We've got Jack Santini. I mean, it's time after time after time after time that this is happening. This is absolutely ridiculous. We landed on our feet with Maurizio Pochettino, and even he was going to be sacked. I tweeted this in a week. Lots of people forget that there was a big debate whether it's deflected or not. There's a big deflected free kick, ironically against Aston Villa, that saved Poch's job. Kane scored in whatever. I think it's his only ever free kick he scored for the club. Not that I'm having a pop at you, Harry, to be fair. But, you know, but the reality is, like, we've seen it time and time again, that there isn't actually a medical term for insanity, and it is keep doing the same thing over and over again, you get the same results. That is a definition of being insane. And this is what we're doing time and time and time again. It's just doing the same thing. We're not changing up. We're not doing anything different. You know, we're bringing a director of football. You have to forgive me, right? But was it Frank Arneson? And within, 10 seconds, Jacques Santini's out. He's gone. He's down the road. Like, what is going on with that? Then we landed on our feet with Martin Jol, which was a situation there that was really good. Got a club on a bit of a footing. We landed on our feet with Pochettino because not many people wanted him at the club. I didn't at the beginning. I put my hands up. But, you know, arguably our best manager we've had in the modern era. But I do, you know, and I agree. So I'm not digging you out, Richard or Chris, because you both mentioned Poch already. I love Poch and I want him to come back, but we have to move on as a football club. This is like Rafa Benitez at Newcastle. They couldn't move on because they were just on about Rafa all the time after he'd moved on. We've got to move on from that. Now, I've done a poll in the week as well. I do love a poll on social media, and I had a staggering. So thanks everybody that if you got involved, 13,000 and a bit votes. So it's decent. And look, it's only one social media view, not everybody, and not, you know, fans and so on and so forth, but everyone that voted. 66% of people want Nuno out. He was manager of the month 3 weeks ago. I mean, you could not make this stuff up. I swear this can only happen to Tottenham Hotspur. You know, when you look at some of the stats and you look at some of the stuff that we've done in previous seasons under the man that's most lauded, i.e. Pochettino, you know, even in the 2 title challenges that we had less points now than what we've currently got after 6 games. Now, I know stats are, here he goes on his happy clap stuff, and it's become fashionable to not be positive anymore. I think that's the world that we live in now. I can't deal with that bit. What I'm saying to you is that we lost to the likes of West Bromwich Albion under Pochettino in his first season, right? In his first full season, when he comes to Tottenham Hotspur, his first 6 games, we had 8 points. We drew with Arsenal, decent. We lost to West Bromwich Albion. We drew with Sunderland. WBA and Sunderland were like, you know, bottom fodder teams, and we're drawing with them. So go back to the feeling that we had then with Pochettino, who was relatively unknown, never won anything. We're getting spanked by Liverpool 3-0. We're losing to West Bromwich Albion. We must have been feeling like this. But it's very difficult to remember that because all we now remember is how amazing he was, and obviously he turned it around. The point I'm making is, what happens if Nuno does that? What happens if Nuno could turn it around against, ironically, Villa, and all of a sudden goes on this amazing 4-5 year journey with a football club and changes everything? Personally, and you ask me how I feel, and that's my emotion coming out, I don't think the guy's up to the job. Personally, I don't think that. I don't think under Pochettino in the first 6 games, we had a way of playing, we had a plan. It was front foot, in your face football at the time, and a very, very high pressing, really, really double training sessions. This is where we're going to go. This is how we're going to be after. We had young, hungry players. If you remember in his first season, we had Eric Dyer. I think he was 23 years old. We had a Ryan Mason who was young at the time. We had a Bentaleb. We had, you know, a sprinkling. Harry Kane was like a fresh-faced 21-year-old. And he wasn't even starting because we had Adebayor. He had all these problems that Nuno's walking into now in the football club. All the old guard, the Kabuls, the Adebayors, the people that we thought that were the troublemakers, for want of a better expression. Do you remember this? Viewers, do you remember this? This is what you have to go on a journey to remember our emotion at the time. And what Pochettino did is galvanize the club. He brought a way of acting, of being, of playing as a plan, and we bought into that. And the key thing is, it was always a project. It was always a project, a plan, a project. And people might go, oh, bloody hell. But it's so important so we can get hold of something. Richard, you're a professional sportsman, for God's sake. Am I talking rubbish here? It's about having a plan, having an identity, and going after that, you know. And this is why I think we're in a mess. Sorry I'll shut up in a minute. This is why I think we're in a mess.
We can ask. True, mate. I think you're true. I think you're speaking from the heart, and I think that's what that's what Spurs fans are doing at the moment.
Do you know what, Lee? Do you know what? If some of the players played with some of the fans' passion, including yourself, on Sunday and against Chelsea, we might have stood a chance. And that is my real problem this week. You know, the lack of passion in these important games. You know, there should be passion in normal Premier League games anyway. You're up against your biggest rivals. I can't understand it. Lee, we will come back onto Nuno because I want to cover Nuno completely. Craig, let's come to you. How are you feeling as a Spurs fan right now?
Much the same as everybody else, I'm sure. And like you said, Chris, annoyed. I think the main feeling for me on the day, and even now, although it's subsided a bit, was frustration. Frustration watching that game, wishing that I had the ability, age, and everything else on my side, and the chance to play in that Tottenham Hotspur side and wear the shirt. Perhaps I'm different because I'm a fan of the club, and it perhaps means more to me than most of those players on that pitch, because certainly the North London derby should mean more than any other game. Whether you know anything about the club or not, you would ask around, you would get the feeling, the vibe from people that work at clubs that are Tottenham fans. You only got to look in the history books. The North London derby is our biggest game, and look how successful we've been at the Emirates. Not very often. So wouldn't you want to be part of that team like the team that got that first win at Chelsea? The feeling you can turn around and say we spanked Chelsea on their own pitch. Why couldn't they go out there on Sunday? And apart from the fact we got spanked by Chelsea the week before, you want to put right what once went wrong, in the words of Sam Beckett in Quantum League. Do you know what I mean? You want to put it right the next week. When I used to play, we lost one week, and it was like, right, lads, go out on that pitch today and put right what went wrong last week. They had the chance, and from minute one, they did not look interested. They were not at the races, and we got beaten, let's face it, by a poor Arsenal team, and we made them, as usual, look like world beaters. And it's frustration, Chris, in answer to your question. I wanted to climb inside that TV and get on that pitch and smack a few of them around the head and actually run around myself for about 2 minutes. That's all I'm good for nowadays. But I tell you what, I would have shown more passion in that 2 minutes. That would have been the best 2 minutes you'd have ever seen, I'll tell you. But going back to what Richard said, professional sportsmen, you've got a duty as well. When you pull on that Team GB shirt, you feel that weight on your shoulders, don't you? Performing for your country, performing for Great Britain. Why aren't our players for years and years now, almost back to, let's not forget Poch. The last 6 months of Poch, 8 months of Poch wasn't pretty at all. And I'm a big Poch fan. It started to go wrong in that December when Dembele left. That's when it started going wrong for me. Possibly even before that, when Kyle Walker left. I think that was before that, wasn't it? That's when it started to go downhill. And we've never, ever, ever done anything about it. And I've always said it, as happy as I was about the Champions League final, getting to that, it papered over some massive cracks. And if you take that Champions League run out of the equation, we were poor long before Poch went. And is it the board? Is it the players? I'm sure we'll get into it. But the frustration, Chris, I mean, me and you have exchanged a few messages the last few days. You know how I feel. It's the frustration, annoyance, anger. I'm fed up with these players doing this to us all the time and basically putting the manager in the shit all the time. And Lee, I'll tell you what, it's really spooky. You said about the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Believe it or not, I looked that up earlier to see who said it. And a lot of people attribute it to Einstein. It actually wasn't him. So, and it's really weird you said that, because it's like we're looking at the same thing. So we're all on the same page here. But yeah, frustration, Chris, is the word.
It does feel like we're going around in circles again and again, like Lee said earlier.
We are, Chris. We are going around in circles. This is the point. One of the reasons why the club is in a mess all the time is because we don't address what the core problem is, and the core problem is change and transformation. Pochettino was allowed to do things on the pitch because he was getting results after that Villa game and so on and so forth. There was an identity. Everybody bought into it from a fan base, and the board allowed him to get on with doing what he was doing. And he is magic, He's Maurizio Pochettino, and he got everything out of them players. I mean, how do you make somebody like, I don't want to name them, right? So, because I think it's out of order, but how do you make some of them players that's still in the squad today look like world-class players and go for a title challenge? How do you do that? he was doing that with his coaching staff, Chris.
The system,
and, you know, no one else has been able to do that. You know, we already know Son and Kane. Fair play to Jose. They had an amazing season last year. Both players, by the way, absolutely outrageous season. And you know, and you've got to credit some where credit's due with Jose and whatever. But they were already world class or very or superstars. You know, some of them other players that we bought in. We bought Eric Dyer for £3 million, and we will look at people like Fofana, right, over at Leicester City, who they buy for £3 million, and then we laud him. Oh my God, where are they getting these players from? Oh my God, he's amazing. Well, we were doing that with Eric Dyer, but when we buy it, it's like, why aren't we spending loads of money on it? You know, it's that mode. And this is what I'm trying to understand is that, you know, you can't have everything all of the time. But what seems to have happened is that we're coming off. We had a plan, and that 5-year plan and that project finished. We never got another one. So the fans can't get behind anything because there's nothing to get behind. The stadium finished. Right, that's now built. The Champions League run, as Craig said, finished. And unfortunately, you know, imagine if we'd have won the Champions League. I wonder if it had been any different. I reckon everybody would have just left and gone, nice one, I've done it now. I'm never going to beat that at Tottenham ever again. But at least we'd have had a trophy. But I don't think anything would have changed. I think Poch would have left. I think some of the other players would have gone. Do you know what I mean? Because we never rebuilt. You know, look at Alex Ferguson's teams. Time and time again, he would get rid of a quality player that everyone would be like, oh my word, how are you getting rid of Bex? How are you getting rid of Stam? How are you getting rid of Roy Keane? But he knew that the refresh was coming. He was an absolute genius in refreshing and going again and then getting the maximum out of them players. But Poch didn't even have that opportunity. The football club didn't allow him to have that opportunity. He had been with us for 5.5 years. I said at the time when Poch got sacked, and I just, by the way, viewers and listeners, I do realise that I said we need to move on from Poch, right? but the thing is, I said at the time, an emotion or whatever, I said at the time, I will go down to League 2 with Pochettino because he was the football club. He was the football inside of the club. It is a bloody brilliant match made in heaven in that way. And just because the first time we got a bit sticky, Craig, as you said, you know, there was some sticky patches going up to there and there was some issues going on and that ran again back into not investing in the squad and the Wembley thing and all that sort of stuff. But the minute that results weren't going right, he got sacked. Like, he should have built up some credit for that, lads. Don't you think, viewers? I can't believe that we just we got rid of him straight away. It was unreal. It was unbelievable.
I don't think there's any doubt, Lee, that all four of us are big Pochettino fans, and I think if we all had our choice, he would still be here today. Richard, let's come to you. Of course, Nuno coming in the summer. You know, it took long enough for him to be appointed. He won his first 3 Premier League games. Everything looked pretty decent. He said in his press conference earlier today, we knew we had things to improve after those 3 games, but now it's obvious we have a talented squad. We can play better football. Richard, how would you describe these last 3 Premier League games that I mentioned earlier? Palace away losing 3-0, Chelsea at home losing 3-0, and then of course the North London derby 3-1. You know, what for you has gone wrong?
Where should I start? I think it all does. Obviously, the summer and the indecision around the manager didn't help at all. That did not help. You've got to have a stable base you can work with, because you've got that bounce when you obviously first have that change of management. There's obviously a different style of play. Obviously, you've got different directors of football, etc., etc. So players are wanting to impress for those first 3 games. And what's just happened is you can just tell they have lost interest or lost the ability to improve on what they did in the first 3 games. And also those first 3 games, were they that impressive? I think in some respects we were quite lucky. I look at those first 3 games, and I was talking to a couple of my mates after the first 3 games and said, where are we going to finish? 7th, 6th? We're definitely not challenging for the top 4 after the first 3 games. I don't think we showed enough. And the problem is, the next 3 games showed how much work we've actually still got to do. And relegation form, that is. Those last 3 games, relegation form. No ideas. Shots on target, shots off target, poor. defending poor, link-up play poor, like so many gaps in the field. I think some of the players are still trying to play Mourinho style in Nuno's reign. It just seems like the players don't understand their roles within the teams. And also the players that have come in, have they improved the side from last year? We've obviously got rid of the likes of Lamella. They've moved on now. Have the players that come in improved, and have the players that we wanted to stepped up this season? I don't think so.
Interesting point, Richard, because of course the starting 11 against Arsenal at the weekend was exactly the same starting 11 as last season. All of the new signings were on the bench.
I know. That's it. We've just not improved. Not improved at all. And do the players, because of that, think, obviously because it's the same starting 11, is it back to like the old Mourinho style where it's literally just hoping for a result? There's no plan. I think we're unlucky in a couple of decisions in the game against Arsenal, but we were well beaten by a poor Arsenal side, like you said. And at half-time, I actually watched it with my friend who's an Arsenal fan, and the worst first 45 minutes I've ever seen in my life. And it was really, really disheartening because there was no passion, no resilience, no desire, no commitment. How many of those players at half-time went in there and said they actually gave a good display over 45 minutes? None. And that's what's really disappointing.
You mentioned the new manager bounce. Now, we're 6 games into a Premier League season. Surely that new manager bounce, and surely trying to impress your new manager, should still be there. The honeymoon period should still be here.
Yeah, definitely. And also you can have a bad result. Like we're talking, there's 3 on the bounce. The Chelsea result, I was away, so I didn't see that live. I had to watch it as a pre-record, not knowing the result. I enjoyed that. And then obviously the Arsenal Crystal Palace games. Fucking hell! What a nightmare. I'm a passionate sportsman. I'm patriotic, and I love my football club. But that was absolute shite. Come on, guys! Look, we really need to show what we're about, and the DNA of the club. Do the players actually know what the club stands for? Do the actual players know how passionate the fans are? Do the players know any of this?
I don't think the club knows anymore. I think that's the bigger problem.
That's where it needs to change.
The club knows. We've lost all sense of this DNA, and I agree with where you're coming from on it. But Nuno keeps floating about. There's a few comments in there tonight about this. We're going to make you proud statement. What a load of BS. Making us proud, like me proud on Sunday. Are you having a laugh? I don't think anyone was proud. I was embarrassed, absolutely embarrassed. And look, I've got some obviously loads of emotion in me, just trying to get out and show my passion. I don't want to just be whinging and moaning, but the reality is that we didn't know what to do, and the players didn't know what to do. Craig, you touched upon it earlier. They didn't know what to do. Richard, you said that they were confused with the kind of old. I think you're spot on. I just don't, and that's down to the manager, isn't it, Chris? That is down to the manager to get the players playing.
But Lee, this summer was meant to be about putting the club back in the right direction. It was all about direction. And like we said earlier, it seems that we're going around in circles. And the way that Jamie Carragher picked that Tottenham Hotspur formation apart, even after 5 seconds, we were all over the place. What Lee? How would you describe the last 3 games? Those 3 defeats, because the way that we've set up, the manner that we have lost the games, the body language of the manager, the body language of some of these players. I'm extremely worried. I really am. Now, let's go to a comment first of all on screen from Jerome. Spot on, Lee. The club should have moved mountains for Pochettino. His sacking clearly showed our lack of ambition, and that is all down to Daniel Levy. Now, we've spoken at length about, we all want to keep Pochettino. But, Lee, for you, describe the last 3 games and how Nuno Espirito Santo turns this around.
Well, I think the last 3 games, as a one description, is embarrassing. I think that even David saying there, I think we defended well against City, for example. But against Wolves, and I'll put a positive spin on it, because the reality is we got the 3 points, right? But I think it was either on Last One on Spurs or on your show, Chris, that I come on and said, I don't want to be going through the whole season saying we got the job done. Because that's what we kept saying last season. We were pretty shite, but you know what? We got the job done, and we were top of the league, and so on and so forth. And look, we was having a bit of fun being top of the league and Arsenal being bottom. And there was a few people saying, well, actually, that could all change by the time we play them, and it did. Now we're below them in the table. I think it's just crazy. So the last 3 games, to concede or to ship 3 goals is embarrassing. I think if you look at them into context and say, look, Crystal Palace situation, that they didn't lay a glove on us in terms of goal mouth action whilst we had 11 men on the pitch. We wasn't playing brilliant, don't get me wrong, but you can't be one or the other. It needs to be balanced. But then when Jaffet got sent off, we just had that glass jaw, and then we gave a pen, and then it just went tits up. I mean, Edouard, I don't think he'll have an easier debut in his life for any other club. Just come on, walked on, score 2 goals, happy days. Chelsea, I was there. It was my first home game, so I've been away in the summer and whatever, so I hadn't been able to go to the game. Unlike you, Chris, you've had about 58 games in this season so far. That was my first home game, and I was quite buoyed to be back. I thought that we played all right. I was happy with the team that he selected. I think most people that I interact with, and my friends, and all of you guys and everyone else, was happy with that team.
We were in the pub together before that match. And I walked down Tottenham High Road with you, and we were very positive about that game.
Because actually we were worried that he was going to go and play 3 defensive midfielders like he did the game before, which he didn't. And we got a more of an attacking team. And actually, in the first half, I remember going down for a half-time tipple, should we say? And I was quite happy. I thought, you know what, we've done all right. That's what we need to do. And then second half, we were absolutely woeful again. Just it was like Chelsea were playing with us. They had a little bit of string and they were just moving it around, and we were like, oh, where should we go in the first half? And then the second half, they just went, well, I've had enough of this, bang, and just blew us away. We were awful. And if that game had carried on another 10, 15 minutes, it could have been 8-0, couldn't it? Let's be actually honest about it. And then you want to see a reaction. I mean, yes, we've had a midweek game, and this is part of my other problem as well that we'll come on to. Yes, we've had a midweek game, and yes, it went to penalties. But the reality of the situation is you've got to see a reaction in the North London derby, like Craig said. This is North London derby, biggest game, one of the biggest games of our season. And we've just rolled over and had our bellies tickled and said, oh, do you want to go? It reminds me of like decades gone by when we've just been soft. We were so easy to beat, so easy to get your tummy tickled. Oh, it's only Tottenham, go on then. That's what it feels like. It feels like that again, doesn't it? There's nothing to be proud of. There's no fight. There's no determination. There's no passion. Not just from the players. Where's Paratici gone? He was on the bench with Steve Hitchens, shouting, screaming, getting involved. 3 games, 3 wins. Now all of a sudden he's not on the bench. 3 losses. Bit weird. Who's picking the team here? Who's being involved here? Did Daniel Levy want Nuno Espirito Santos? Did Paratici want a different manager? But then what's going on here? And we need to know. We need to know what the plan is. If the plan, and this is what I want to know, if the plan is it's going to take us 5 years to get back in the top 4, fine. We're Tottenham fans. We can stomach this stuff because we've done it all our lives. But we need to know what the plan is. Because if you think the Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, if you think the plan is that we're getting top 4 on a trophy, trot on, because you ain't got a clue. It's not happening. So you've got to set yourself out with a plan and with a stall. And I'm asking the question where Paratici is, because he's the managing director of the football club. On the footballing side, he should be in the mixer and talking and understanding, showing us, telling you, Craig, where we're going, telling you, Richard and Chris and all the viewers, what is our football club doing? It just feels like it is just going through the same cycle again and again. And people talk about Chelsea. Like, oh, yeah, sack a manager and, they go again and they still win stuff. And that's what we should do. Well, fair enough. But I think we've gone through 18 or 19 managers. I might be wrong. You might have to look at the different blue book. But I think we've gone through 18 managers under this current regime. And I'm sorry, that's outrageous. Considering Pochettino was here for 5.5 years.
Lee, I just want to stay with you for a minute because...
Oh God, please, I need to mute myself, Chris. I need to mute myself. No one can get a word in edgeways. I'm so sorry.
All joking aside, you are one of the most positive Spurs fans that I know. So when you are speaking like this, it's worrying times, isn't it?
I'm going to try the negative approach and see if it makes any difference, because a lot of people think that negative approaches, but I don't want to moan. I genuinely do not want to moan about us. I genuinely went through stages last year, last season, the season before, where I was taking it out on my family. Like, I get the ump when we lose. I'm like a child. Like, and I'm unfortunately I'm not, right, but I'm like a child, and I get the ump, and it ruins my weekend. And I don't think they even care that is the case. There must be what, 5-6 million, I don't know, followers. I don't check on Twitter for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. That are following 5 million people. If 5 million people feel like that every weekend, that's a problem. There's a lot of people feeling a lot of anger and a lot of frustration. Maybe I'm just speaking crap, right? But that's how I feel. So yeah, it is a problem, and it's not just a problem for me. I think it's a problem for all of us and most of our viewers on tonight, and most of the people that follow us all, and most of the people who go to the stadium. I've got an email. I'm a season ticket holder, block 252. Yeah, come and say hello, row 48, right? And more than that.
Everybody's going to be there now. All those 5 million people.
Yeah, I love it, right? But the point is, I've got an email from the football club. I think it was yesterday, the day before, saying general sale tickets. Now season ticket holders can buy 5 extra tickets for the Villa match. 5 extra tickets. So what? Yeah. What's happened to the season ticket, waiting list? And this wouldn't have happened 2 seasons ago. But you couldn't get a ticket and have more money. Now they can't even sell them. It's a proper problem.
Craig, let's come to you. Of course, I've said on the last couple of videos that I've published, actually, there's like a rapid decline. And as Lee said, a couple of years ago, you couldn't even get a ticket in the stadium when we were playing Champions League football. And then, of course, COVID hit last season, and we played Europa League, and now we're in the Europa Conference League. It's like a rapid decline, isn't it? And I just also want to go to this comment as well from Matthew. The plan is the stadium generating money for Daniel Levy and co. The football club are way down the list of priorities now. That was their plan. Now, I must say that on Saturday, Spurs at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium held a fantastic event. The AJ fight against Usyk. I was lucky enough to be there, and I was pitch side. I was ringside, and I tell you what, when AJ and Usyk were coming out, I was right by the south stand, and all of the fans were singing. And I looked up, 17,500 fans there singing. It was incredible, absolutely incredible. It actually gave me the feeling of what the players feel and what the players see from the pitch. And I tell you what, it made me feel a little bit more upset, the fact that, we just lost to Chelsea. We were about to play Arsenal in the North London derby. And I thought, if the players see that, oh my God, that is amazing. That is absolutely fantastic. The feeling that I got was just incredible. I'm getting all cold even saying it and thinking about it now. And when I think that the players see that and experience that at home games every single week or every other week, and they can't give the passion in these games, I don't get it. Do you?
I don't at all, and I don't know. Perhaps it's because perhaps they get used to these massive crowds and people singing their names. I don't see how you'd ever get bored of it. I really don't. And surely you would want to perform well each week so people aren't booing you. I mean, if you're if you want to protect yourself, then show a bit of passion. If you don't want people criticising you, show a bit of passion. Soldado was pretty crap for us, wasn't he? But he tried. People could see him trying. Nobody ever booed Soldado, did they? From what I remember, and he was pretty poor, And I've said before, same with Janssen to a degree. I have to say, Chris, about the fight, that was incredible watching that. And I have to say, AJ lost and all blah blah blah. But what a song to come out to! No Easy Way Out from Rocky IV, one of my favourite tracks of all time. That must have sounded fantastic in the stadium, I have to say. Brilliant spectacle, the whole thing. But like you say, everything is in place now within that club. Everything, the training ground. We've said it before. How many times have we said the same thing we've got the stadium, we've got the training ground. You know, we're pretty financially secure. We rode out COVID pretty well. We come out the other side pretty well. You've got concerts planned, boxing events planned, and Christ knows what else to get money into this club. And yet we've not got it right in the most important place, and that is on the pitch. Now, I'm sure we'll get into it, but is this time for ENIC to say, we're all right, we've made our money, value the club at 2-3 billion, whatever it was? Is it time for them to sell now? I personally think it is. I'm done with ENIC. I'm done with them. Personally, I think Levy's done a fantastic job off the pitch. His recruitment hasn't been so good, but I think he's a very, very good businessman, and he's done us pretty well so far with the stadium. But that's about as far as I go. I just think it's time for them to sell up and go, because likes of Abramovich, how many years have we wanted Joe Lewis to put money into this club? He's money into his own pocket, but he's never, ever going to do that, from what I'm led to believe. You know, somebody needs to come in, and it's a sad state of affairs. But it's life. You've got to throw money at it. You've got to speculate to accumulate. How many times have you heard that? You know, these buying players that are young and hoping they mature into quality players. It hasn't worked for us for the last God knows how many years. Why can't we go out and buy some proven talent? I mean, Anthony Costa was banging the drum for Anderson, that defender from Fulham, proven defender in the Premier League. I think he'd have slotted in perfectly at Tottenham. And we could all pick out players, quality players that aren't like your Messis and Ronaldos and massive price tags. But, you know, in my opinion, we should be looking 50, 60, 70 million player range. I think three world-class players, or very approaching world-class players, change this team immeasurably, but in the right positions. And we've still not bought in that striker to challenge Kane. Sonny's not the centre forward. He can do a really good job there, but he's not a centre forward. He doesn't do that role as well as Kane does. I mean, God, can we come on to Kane later as well? I don't want to slag him off too much because of everything he's done, but there's something not right there. The whole club's just a mess, Chris, and I know I'm ranting, so I'll stop, because I like to be positive. Like Lee, I think I come on here and I'm trying to be balanced, to try to be positive, but at the moment I don't agree with everything Alex says. But when he said the other week, when we was all laughing at him, we're 10th, 11th, I can't argue against what Alex said at the moment.
It's interesting how you say about ranting, because you get onto one subject and then you just go off on a tangent. And I think I've been doing that all week. Richard, let's come to you. Let's talk a little bit about Nuno Espirito Santo. Now, of course, I've been doing that all my life,
Chris. I've been doing that all my life, going off on a tangent.
I can't even remember what he asked me. Sorry, Chris.
Rich, let's talk about the boss, Nuno Espirito Santo. Now, in the manner that we've lost these three games, and of course, in between these three league games as well, we've had 2-2 draws, away at Rennes in the Europa Conference League and away at Wolves in the Carabao Cup. Do you think Nuno is under pressure? And it's a weird question, because, like Lee said earlier, to win the Manager of the Month award in the Premier League in August, and then in September, literally 1 month later, fans are now calling for his sacking.
I think you've got to, like we've said in previous comments, you've got to look further down the chain, and he still has responsibility to motivate the players. He has responsibility to manage the players, obviously to put in those plans for what happens on the pitch. But then the players need to then deliver that. And what I'm seeing is that either the players don't like him, don't understand his methodology around how he wants to play, or they just want out of the club. And they're letting down the club, the fans, obviously the manager. Maybe they want to try and get him sacked. I highly doubt it. But for me, after 6 games, you can't judge a manager. And I didn't when Mourinho was in. I just never liked him. Never liked him from before he was manager of Spurs. Never liked him while he was manager of Spurs. Nuno, I've got friends that are Wolves fans. When I was last on, I think we had somebody from Wolves that was on as well. And obviously he was gutted that maybe he'd lose the manager. And obviously when you're 10th, 11th, 12th pick to be a manager, it's going to be a hard sell to the fans. So for those first 3 games, it gave us a big lift about what to expect. And that balloon definitely has burst. The results have been poor. Even his body language, he doesn't look like he's got any ideas. I want to see like animation. You want to see passion from the manager. You want to see direction. And whether he's under pressure, that just depends on up above. But as we know, they are quite quick to step on that panic button, aren't they? And there's so many managers. I think I saw an article about the managers that actually are out of work at the moment. And you look at some of those, like the Contes of this world, that would possibly do a better job, but would have to have the elements in place to be successful. And whether, obviously, the directors, etc., are willing to pay for that is the big question. And like we heard before, great training facility, world class, amazing stadium. We just need to have on the pitch, we need to have the team that plays the right way. If you lose and you give everything, that's all you can ask for, because you've got the best out of the ability of the players. We're not getting that at the moment. Some of the players are underperforming. We're expecting players to perform at a higher level than they're actually able to. For me, Nuno has been let down by a lot of the players. I think he expected to come into the club with the players at a higher level. And at the moment, like you say, England captain, not performing anywhere near he can. And he looks like disinterested, but also, are Spurs going to get the value for him in January or in the summer when we sell him? I don't think so now. I think it's a missed opportunity that Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United, like Lee said, would have got rid of the player when they obviously want to leave.
So, Richard, are you backing the manager?
Am I backing the manager? I think you've got to. I think you've got to. You've got to look. 6 games. You can't throw a manager and his philosophy out. I just think he needs to maybe just get to know what. I think the fans need to have an impact on Nuno, get behind him, and kind of bring out that fight that he did have at Wolves in those first couple of seasons. You can't dump a manager straight away. 6 games, too early to say. But just the manner of the defeats, it's more a lack of respect from the manager, from the players. Just really piss poor. And that, for me, as I'd be like, as somebody that is a professional in my sport, if I gave that kind of performance, my coach would absolutely slaughter me. He'd say, look, we've trained so hard, we put these plans in place, and you deliver that shite, no chance. The players need that rollicking. They need to get on the training field. They need to work harder. Nuno needs to get his plan in place, and then everybody needs to back the manager, because he's our manager at the moment.
Chris, can I just jump in? Just saw a comment there from MS. He's spot on. I couldn't have said this better. I know you got a comment on the screen there from David, but MS has commented, Brentford players cost a fraction of Spurs players, but play with 100% conviction. Sack the players. I can't argue with that. Brentford have been absolutely fantastic since they've come up. And if our players played with that conviction, none of us would be worried. It's trying. Keep trying. And they just don't look bothered at the moment.
Lee, let's come to you. I think your views are very similar to mine on Nuno. I want to back the manager, but after these last 3 games, I'm extremely worried by this brand of football. Not just the results, but the way that we've set up, the way that we are playing. And when you look at the stats, and we haven't even got into any of these stats yet, we are ranking literally bottom for every single stat. You know, shots on target in the Premier League. You know, every other Premier League team, all other 19 Premier League teams have had more chances than us in games. More shots on target, distance covered. We're 20th. We're bottom of most of these rankings. What is going on? What are your thoughts on Nuno?
Sorry, but when you put all that out, that is not individual players. That is a collective, isn't it? Let's be honest about it, right? I'm sure we'll get into Tungo and Dembele and Gio Navarre, Gio Lo Celso and everything else, right? And you can talk about them, and Dele Alli's and whatnot. But the fact of the matter is, that's as a team, right? And they're team stats, aren't they? That you're sharing there, Chris. This isn't like an individual. This is the entire team. So there is a fundamental issue with the way that we're training, the way that we're setting up, and most importantly, in my opinion, the fundamental issue is that they've got no belief in what's happening. They don't believe in it. When Richard and Craig, I think you both made the point separately on the show tonight, but when you've both talked about looking disinterested and passion, and there's nothing to get behind, right? Because they don't know what they're doing, right? They don't know what they're doing because Nuno don't know what he's doing. Like it feels to me, it is just let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can go after. They're lumping the ball, right, against Arsenal, just literally hoofing it. It was like I think it was a comment from Ramon Vega maybe on social media, or somebody on social media, the ex-pro said it was like Wimbledon in the 90s or something, just lumping the ball. I mean, what is that all about? We've got world-class player in Son, in my opinion, and world-class player in Harry Kane, in my opinion. Yet what we're doing is just lumping it to them. We've got somebody in midfield that could get on the ball and be that creative person in Tungal and Dembele that was there. We're just bypassing him with like long balls from the back. It was horrific. So I believe that they don't know what they're doing, and that's the manager. That's the job of the manager, and also as well, because under this new structure, that's also the job of the managing director of the footballing side of the club. The MD of the footballing side of the club is not just there as the chief scout to go and do deals, right? That's part of his job. A big part of his job is recruitment. But it's also about fitting the pieces together and working together and leading the footballing side of the club, right? Where is he? Where is he leading? We're in a crisis here. We are in a crisis. What is happening? And we're not seeing, we're not hearing what the plan is. Let me back that up by some things I've got to get off my chest if the viewers will allow me, because I know I'll waffle on, so forgive me, right? But what do we want? What do we want as a football club? So some of us want trophies, right? Some of us want top four. Some of us just want to see bloody good football again, right? But maybe if you put all of that in the mix, that's unrealistic. But some of us, and this is what I'm saying, is the club need to find the identity of we are good. Our objective is to get in the top four, or our objective is to win a trophy, or our objective is to play front foot attacking football. Maybe that's not an objective that we all want, but rather than the trophies or whatever. But that's what my point is. We have to have an objective, and the objective needs to be where you want to get to, what you want to achieve. Are you with me so far? This is fundamentals of a plan. The strategy. Well, we then need a strategy, and the strategy is basically the key ideas that you put in place. Something that's easy, something that's identifiable. Maybe it might be the DNA, maybe it's the way that we play, maybe it's the players that we have or what we do, but it's the strategy of putting together. It's the how. It's the how are we going to hit our objective. Ask any players, ask anyone in the football club. I'd love to ask the fans, the viewers now, what is our objective today? What is it as a football club, and how are we going to do that? We don't know. We have no idea. And let me prove the point to you. We're in the Europa Conference League and we want trophies. So, Chris, I mentioned trophies about 4 times on your show. Why wouldn't I, right? You want a trophy. Now, I know we beg to differ on this point, but you want a trophy and you're saying to me, we should go after Europa Conference League. We shouldn't be arrogant. We're Tottenham Hotspur. We haven't won a trophy for 13 years and we need a trophy and we should go after a trophy. Totally happy with that.
Let me just say, for anyone just tuning in, I have not mentioned that word whatsoever.
No, he hasn't. But it worked. What is the word, Chris? The word? What? No, yeah, trophies, right? But so I'm absolutely fine with that. If that's the club's objective to win a trophy over and above getting into the top 4, then that's what we should go after. Hear me out. I hear on these shows, on Last Word on Spurs, on Twitter feed, on Instagram, all of the interaction that we have with these wonderful fans. We ain't got a good enough squad. We ain't got good enough recruitment. We were rubbish. We need to get rid of players. Yet, every year, we set up in 4 competitions and we want to go after all 4 competitions. That's unrealistic. Totally unrealistic. So, sorry to put you on the spot, Richard, but you are an absolute world-class, athlete. You have won medal after medal after medal, and 100 meters and 200 meters, whatever it is. If I said to you, right, I want you to go and win gold in 100 meters, or 200 meters, 400 meters, the 800 meters, what would you say to me? You ain't gonna do it. You ain't gonna do it because it's unrealistic, right?
Yeah, no. You definitely need to be realistic, and also, I think sometimes it's about how you deliver that as well, how you deliver that message. It's important. So communication is really important. I think that's what's lacking at Spurs, how the club communicates to the fans.
But every time I agree, and every time we say, "No, we're going for this, we're going for that. We need to win a trophy." It's bitty. It's not planned. We're under Poch, and we've talked about him, and sorry to keep referencing him, and it annoyed some fans. It even annoyed you, Chris, because he wouldn't take the cup competition seriously, and he'd sit there and he'd go, "I want the big prizes." And what happened when we went for the big prizes? We had 2 title challenges and a Champions League final. We got there with no investment for 518 days. But that bloke got us there. Why? Because we had the objective, which was to go after the big prizes. The strategy was to play front foot, attacking, high-pressing football. And the tactics or the playbook was a change of personnel that you bring in, the people that you have around, having a Dembele. And Craig, you're spot on. The problem started in that team when Dembele left, when Walker left, and we didn't replace them. And it comes back to the football club as a whole. We did not replace them. So the objective could never, ever be fulfilled. It couldn't, because we didn't have the strategy or the tactics or the tools to fulfill that objective. Now, the problem with the football club as overall is fans and viewers right now, they will have different views to me. So there's no point me telling you what I think, what the club should go after, because that would be my objective for the football club. So, for example, I think we need top 4 more than anything else. Now, I know a lot of people feel differently, but that's what I think. I think to keep Harry Kane, to keep the Heung-min Sons, to bring more people to the football club, we need the top 4. Right? That's what I personally think. But that doesn't mean that's the right objective for the football club. And the entire fan base might disagree with that. But what I'm saying is you can't go after 4 things, because we haven't got the squad. We haven't got the ability to go and run 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meters, 800 meters. We haven't got it. So we have to focus on what we can go after. If that's the Europa Conference League, then play our first full team 11 every week in the Europa Conference League and go and win it and forget the Premier League. Yeah, or play a rotation squad. Don't then sit there when Harry Winks plays and then batter him because he's not good enough. I think we know that Harry Winks needs to improve, right? He's not the best footballer in the world, but you can't then batter him if that's what the objective is, going after that trophy. We can't have it all. And I think we are unrealistic if we think we can. And that's my other point, which is development squad. Why isn't the Europa League, the Europa Conference League, being used for the development squad, for the Scarlets, for the younger people that are in the first team? But because, oh yeah, we're going to start with him. Didn't go too well, did it? We lost 1-0. So what's he do the next game? Brings the big boys in. This is an utter mess. This is the guy that's in charge. You have to stick to your plan and your objective. And if your objective is we're going to use that competition to develop our squad, then you do not bring in Harry Kane's, Heung-min Son's, Pierre Højbjerg. You don't do that unless you're developing in and around them. And that's what I'm saying, Chris. He doesn't know how to set up, in my opinion, the wider football club. And that's Paratici as well, in my opinion.
It's a very good point, Lee, because, of course, Spurs need a win. Nuno Espirito Santo needs a win. You know that the big guns will be out tomorrow night against Mura because we need that win. And you're right. You know, some of the development players should be playing in that game, but we need a win. So they've got to play. And then, of course, we're then risking players, you know, to then play against Aston Villa. But going back to your point, Lee, and Craig, I'll come to you. Lee spoke about, the club direction there. Now, this week, the Trust has called on the club to explain their plans. They state that the fans are extremely concerned about the current direction of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, an explanation of how success will be measured and how the club's DNA will be regained. Your thoughts on that? Do you think that the Trust will get many answers from the club?
I think it's great that the Trust have asked for the meeting. I don't think they're necessarily going to get any answers. I think it will just be sound bites and telling them what we all want to hear. You know, it will just be just the usual crap, really. Just saying, we're working towards a goal. We are aware the results on the pitch haven't been good enough. Blah blah blah. I think it's just going to be very bland. I don't see what the club can actually come out and say other than that. To be honest with you, they're just going to just tell them what we all know is wrong. They're just going to repeat what we all know. I think the Villa game Sunday is one of the most important games of the season so far. I think that's certainly more important than Thursday's match. Because there's an international break straight after, I believe, isn't there? I think if we don't get the result against Villa, I hate to say it because I don't blame Nuno completely for this mess, even though he is the manager. I don't think you can lay the blame at his door completely. But if we lose against Villa, I think, are they going to look at sacking him this early in the season? God. Says, as many have said before, that says more about the board and Daniel Levy than anything else, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Do you know what, Craig? Going back to that point, now the board sacked Jose Mourinho 6 days before a cup final. Whether you think it's right or wrong, it was a strange decision, right? Whether you like Jose Mourinho or not, the question has been raised a lot. A lot of people who know I'm a big Spurs fan have asked me all week, do you think Nuno's going to get the sack in the next week or two if we lose a few more games? And my answer is always who knows? Because who knows with this board the decisions they make. Let me just put it out there to you three. If we lost the game to Villa, or indeed the next league game to Newcastle, do you think Nuno might get the sack?
Oh. My goodness. Straight to your throat to me. Cheers, guys.
I'm happy to go first.
I think he... his position's in jeopardy, isn't it? You've got to be realistic with the board, how the board play this game, and is under threat. Do I think it'll happen? I don't think it'd be too soon to invest in a style of football and then go actually after 7 or 8 games get rid of him. I think if we still have that 10, 12 games and the style of play hasn't changed and the players haven't really invested their energy in the manager, then it would go in a different direction. Whether they're looking at other options anyway now, I'm not as sure that I think they might be looking at other options just in case something does happen around the Christmas time, because obviously that's when the next transfer window opens and then there'll be some time to obviously change the team around. I think with going with some of the players that Spurs have, are they Nuno's players? Did Nuno get the players that he wanted? I don't think he has. So the board needs to take a real good look at themselves regarding the last 3, 4, 5, 6 results and say, are they happy with the league position? And also the style of play hasn't improved since last year. I think it's taken the kind of how Kane and Sonny were playing last year. Obviously, they're not playing anything like it this year, and that's down to obviously the formation as well. The formation's changed, and it doesn't get the best out of the players. Dele Alli, he's played out of position. I've always been a believer. You play the best players in the best positions. Don't be playing them out of position. You need to play the best players in the best position so they know what their roles are in the team.
Lee, do you think he will be under pressure, serious pressure, if we lose to Villa?
I think he's nailed on 100% sacking if we lose against Villa. That's how convinced I am.
Wow.
Because I'll be honest with you, if I was in charge, and thank goodness to all of the amazing fans and viewers that I'm not, but if I was in charge, it'd be going. And the reason it for me, and I'm never one to be like this normally. As most of you know, if you follow me, you watch the show with Chris or the last one on Spurs and whatever. I'm not normally like this, but It's got me because there is no plan, there is no style, there's nothing that he's doing correctly. You can't see what he's doing. Ralph Hasenhuttl, right? Sorry, I probably battered his name, but Southampton, when he first came in, he was getting battered by Manchester United 6-0, Leicester City 6-0, etc., etc. but he kept his job, and then he done really well. He's struggling this season, to be fair, but he done really well. And one of the reasons for that was because you could see what he was trying to do. The way he was setting up his attacking play, the way it was actually going about, and so on and so forth, you could see what he was trying to do. When Pochettino came in, you could see what he was trying to do. They had a plan around what we were going to do and how we were going to execute it. The objective strategy, what I just talked about before. At the moment, we've got nothing. So you could argue that sacking Nuno won't make any difference, and it probably won't. That's the real rubbish about it. I think it was Paul, somebody that was commenting earlier. Paul, so forgive me, I didn't catch your surname, but said about bringing Harry Redknapp. I'm actually serious. Like I would bring in if you got rid of Nuno, I would bring in an interim manager like an Avram Grant style interim manager, Roberto. I can't remember Di Matteo, right? For Chelsea when they've done this interim thing, because at the moment it feels like Nuno is an interim solution until Poch's contract runs out in PSG, and now he's playing with the best players in the world. He probably will never come back anyway. But it feels like it's an interim appointment anyway. Maybe it's a Ryan Mason, maybe it's I don't know, like Harry, whatever. But to come in and galvanise the club back to where it was, almost like what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did with Manchester United when he first came in. They brought somebody in that knew the fabric of the club, and they just wanted to get their club back a bit. Now, again, I think Ole's struggling as well a little bit. I don't know what the result is tonight, but he's got all this power, all this money, all these Ronaldos now back at the club, and they're still not, smashing up all the trees. To put some context around where we are, if we win.
Ronaldo scored the winner in the 90-something minute, by the way, Lee.
Oh, there you go. Perfect breaking news, Craig. Love it.
Couldn't write it, could you?
I mean, you literally couldn't write this stuff. So, he's brought him back in. He's winning, getting 90th minute winners and whatever. But again, United themselves are struggling. We're only a point off them if we win on the weekend. I think they got Everton. I think Man City play Liverpool. So there's going to be points drop between them two clubs. If we beat Villa and, Man City and Liverpool draw, we're only like a couple of points off of them, after having an absolute shocker these last three games. So there's a lot of context to put in, and there's obviously a lot of emotion, there's a lot of passion. But for me, if we lose against Villa, he's done. And especially if we concede 4 games on the trot where we concede three.
Well, Lee, David writes on the screen now, no manager wanted to come to us. That's why we ended up with Nuno. Now, serious question for you. Are you more excited under the management of Nuno Espirito Santo or when Ryan Mason took over?
Well, again, I've got to be honest. I'm wearing my heart on my sleeve tonight, so I'm telling you how it is. Yes, I would be more excited if Ryan Mason come back in. I would, and the reason why is you look at the football matches that he managed. I think he won 4 out of his 6 games. Ironically, again, Villa. What's happening with Villa? The Poch Villa, the Villa on the weekend, and now it was the Villa game where Mason lost that game. I think he lost to Leeds and then Villa, and that Villa game that he lost was that whole Kane G-Nev interview that came out. No one was ever going to win that football match, the way the players were and blah, blah, blah. So, I actually think when you look at the stats, he won away at Leicester, who were running it after the Champions League, and Ryan done that. I actually think, the possession stats, the front foot football, the, attacking intent, the shots on target was a damn sight more than what we're getting at the moment. And that's the substance for me. It might be different for everybody else, but I don't want to see, I'm really sorry, Jose, but I don't want to see another pragmatic, defensive-minded footballing genius from somebody who's, with the greatest respect, not a footballing genius. I mean, Jose Mourinho had got 50 million trophies under his belt to justify it. Nuno hasn't. And I have not seen one bit of progressive football from him at all this season. And for any of us to think that that's going to change on Sunday or in one game, it's not going to happen. It's going to take at least another 6-7 games for it to get over the line. And I just can't handle it. So, new manager bounce, bring in Harry Redknapp, get the Armana players and say, do you know what, we're going to have a go, and then just go out and play free. Get Tingund playing free. Get Delhi playing free again. Get the shackles off. Go and play some football. And if we lose 4-3, like we did 6-4 and winning 6-4 and losing 4-3 or whatever, at least we've been entertained by doing it and we've had a go. That's where I'm at.
Well, I don't know whether any of you saw Nuno Espirito Santo's press conference before the Mura game, obviously tomorrow.
Boring, wasn't it? I mean, Jesus, how boring is the guy even when he speaks? It's like I don't even listen to it.
Yeah,
It's so uninspiring.
Well,
Lee wants entertainment at the conference as well.
I've just wanted entertainment.
Well, talking about the pressure, he said, "I'm not worried about judgment, criticism, opinion is all part of it. My focus is how we can improve. We need the fan support. It's about delivering and feeling good again." Craig, let's come to you. I want to talk a little bit about Harry Kane because he hasn't scored yet in the Premier League this season. Worrying?
Yeah, it's very worrying. It's been a funny one with Harry. You know, after all that malarkey in the summer, is he going? Is he staying? I just think his head's not in the right place still, regardless of what people have come out and said. You can clearly see Sunday the balls where they usually stick when it's given to him. It was bouncing off him. He was miscontrolling it. Do you know what's quite annoying actually? For a tall guy, he doesn't win many headers. You know, he should be jumping and winning a few more headers than he was. But again, it's going back to like the Wimbledon, isn't it? Knock it long, and then who's running in behind off Kane? I mean, is that what we've become now? Is that what we were Sunday, a long ball team? And Jamie Carragher, spot on with the analysis. Sanchez wasn't ready for the ball. It's right from the off. Right from the off. And I remember Gary Neville saying that about 6-7 years ago. At half-time, Eric Dyer. Was it Eric Dyer? No. Perhaps it was Eric Dyer. He's playing right back, running on the pitch late. And he said, this is what Spurs are like. Never ready. They're never ready. And that was 7-8 years ago. You know, it's frightening. And perhaps Harry Kane's just had enough. He obviously wanted to go in the summer. I would hope he's professional. He's going to knuckle down. I'm sure he is. It's very difficult for me to criticise Harry Kane. I've got the right to. We've all got the right to. We pay money to the club. We essentially help pay his wages. We are allowed to say, and I always try and keep respectful. But, you know, Harry will know himself. It's not good enough. He'll want to be scoring goals. He'll want Greaves' record, let's face it. And he's just not at the races at the moment. He's just not at the races. And do you drop him? Do you drop Harry Kane if he's not performing? You should do, really. You should do, really, because why should he be treated any different? Or has he earned that special treatment? I don't know the answers. I don't know the answers. For me, if you know, it's hard enough playing with 11 players on the pitch, let alone 10. I'm not saying it's just Harry. They were all appalling Sunday. You could have took any of them off. But you notice the difference when Hill and Skip come on, the difference in the intensity. The players actually wanted it. You know, you could see it putting in tackles. That was the difference. And sometimes that's all it takes, somebody to sling in a tackle and, you know, just go for it from the off. And that's what you need sometimes. And just very quickly going back to you saying about Nuno's boring press conferences, Lee, I 100% agree. I used to watch Jose's. I was never a Jose in or out. I was never a massive Jose fan, but I'll tell you what, he was box office to watch. Even in press conferences, I made a point of watching all of them because you always got something from him. And Nuno's is just so boring. He says the same things over and over. You can clearly see down the top.
He just repeats over and over again the same thing.
He never says anything. He doesn't say anything. He says things without saying anything.
I just sense sometimes that he doesn't want to be there and he doesn't want to be answering the questions.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like he doesn't want to be there. And you know, and that's the persona that he gives off to everybody. Now people keep saying, "Oh, he's a nice guy and he's straight. He's a nice guy." I haven't seen him be a nice guy. He's not very nice in front of camera because he doesn't really want to be there. He's not very nice on the side. He doesn't talk or, you know, give instructions out or whatever. I haven't seen it. I just feel like it feels like to me that he thinks that he's out of his depth. I think he's looking around here and he's thinking, I can't do this. You know, and that's a sad thing to say. And I have no evidence to back that up, of course. And we'll never know how he's feeling. But it feels to me, if I've been in situations in my life, and I won't go into detail, but if I've been in situations in my life where you think, holy shit, I don't know what to do here. Like, I don't know how to get out. You know, there's a certain inner something that happens in you, isn't there? I mean, Richard, you must have had this so many times, like, you know, through sport, whereby you think, I'm just gonna go for it. Yeah, I'm just gonna, just do something different. Exactly that, Craig.
Obviously, with the position he's got, he needs to be dynamic enough to change and evolve and upskill himself. And surely they saw something in him to know that he was capable of the job.
No, I just honestly, genuinely think they thought they got to whenever it was June, beginning of June. I can't remember the date. And they looked at all these other managers and they thought, crap, we haven't got a manager. Who can we get? Who can we get? He was 10th choice. And we've got to go in Nuno. We need a manager. We can't have Mason. Redknapp don't want it. Poch don't want it. Conte don't want it. Gattuso's a racist. We can't have... Do you know what I mean? I think it got to a point where they thought, we need somebody to come in. We're going to give him a 2-year contract. That way, if he's crap, we can get rid of him. And then hopefully go for Poch in 2 years. That's genuinely, I still believe that is what they're thinking.
So do I. I completely agree. That whole 2-year thing was I agree. The thing is, and I mean this with the greatest respect to all of the viewers and all of our fans as well, and I am pigeonholing, but I'm putting myself in that as well, is that we're quite arrogant as well, aren't we? Oh no, I don't want him.
Yeah,
not one person watching today or listening or whatever would want David Moyes anywhere near our football club. Look at the job he's doing at West Ham. Absolutely outstanding job. He was an interim manager. He got dicked around. They brought in that other bloke, Pellegrini, and then got rid of him. Brought Moyes back. He's doing wonders with the football club. You've got Declan Rice coming out saying, I absolutely love this football club. I want to be here. I want to be playing football. That's what I want to hear my players saying. I want to hear my players saying, I'm playing for the badge. I want to be here. We are team camaraderie. I don't know if anyone's watched the BBC documentary on the Premier League years, the rise of the Premier League. And it's talking about when Sir Alex Ferguson was started, these teams and stuff. Every single player that I interviewed, people they all talk about one thing. Blackburn Rovers, when they won the title as well, Graham Massey, all talk about one thing. We were together. We were all together. We knew what we wanted to do. We were all going for the same thing. All of us were on the same page going for the same thing. I sit here and I look at Tottenham and I think the board wants something different to what Paratici wants, to what Nuno wants, to what the players want, to what the fans want. I mean, it's literally disconnect, if you like, through the whole of the piece. I do think fans play a massive, massive part in bringing that stuff together. And here's the thing. If the board and Paratici and Nuno and the players were all in together, but the fans weren't, I still think that's a problem. So we have a responsibility, even though we pay our money, we have a responsibility to make sure that we're on there. That's why I go back to clubs setting out a stall, coming out to us and saying, this is what we're trying to do. This is our objective. This is how we're going to go about doing it. Bear with us. We're not going to get it right all of the time. Yeah. Nuno to open up in press conferences and talk about it a little bit more. This will endear the fans. This will enable us to go, okay, they're trying. We know where we're going with this. But they don't do any of that stuff. And that's the problem. That's the massive problem with a football club.
Richard, let's come to you. A couple of comments here. Nuno makes our players look bad. Look at Kane. He doesn't know which position he is playing. Dele Alli, Heung-min Son, Lucas Moura are lost. Another comment here. If we fire Nuno this soon, then the only replacement that makes any sense is Ted Lasso, confirming what we already know. We're the joke of the league. And I think a lot of us fans feel like that. We're sort of the joke of the league again, going around in circles. Yeah. I just want your thoughts on who do you think are the real leaders in the dressing room? Because I used to think that Harry Kane used to be a real leader in there, but this season so far, and I don't want to really heavily criticise Harry Kane, but from what I'm seeing at the moment, I go to see Spurs home and away, go to every game, and seeing the stuff off the ball and the players talking, I'm not seeing any of that this season from Harry Kane. No communication with his teammates. What do you think is going on there, and do you think he is one of the leaders in the dressing room still? I saw most of the games last year. Well, I think I saw every game last year, home and away, and this year it's just the atmosphere is just like completely different. I think the leaders last year, I think Højbjerg's still is such a great motivator on the pitch, and when he goes quiet, we're in real trouble because of the lack of leadership from
the front, definitely with regarding leadership. So Kane definitely that has dropped away, and I think like Lee and Craig have said about looking disinterested. Hugo, obviously a great keeper, but is it best to have a captain that's in between the sticks? I don't think you can influence the game as well as you can actually from that defensively midfield player or one of your back four. Leaders wise, I think if you ask Spurs fans now, how many of the players actually are listened to on the pitch by their fellow professionals? Not many. And I think that's because their own performances haven't been elevated, so the other players then feel that that's what they have to do on the pitch. Kane is a big issue for me, and whether you're like the first couple of games, he didn't play, and look at what we did the first couple of games. We actually showed a different style of play, a different intensity on the pitch. Since Kane's come back into the fore, that might actually be the problem. And I did see a comment from somebody on the chat a minute ago saying no player's bigger than the club. Yeah. And that's what we need to think about. I think that there was too much emphasis in keeping a player that didn't want to be here. And what we should have done, and I'm a massive Kane fan and I definitely didn't want him to go, but it's shown that he stayed and it's not helped the club at all. It's not helped us progress. We've gone backwards and we've continued to go backwards with him on the pitch with that kind of attitude.
Do you know what? I'm going to mention the word trophy now. Because I tell you what, if Reece ends up leaving the club in the summer of 2022, he's been at the club for 10 years and he hasn't won a trophy at the club. And Heung-min Son, of course, has just signed a 4-year contract with Spurs, which will take him up to 10 years. Lee, for you, just before we get into the Mura and the Aston Villa preview, let's talk a little bit about the trophy situation, because some of these players, when I reel off the names like Toby, Jan, Christian Eriksen, Pochettino during his reign as Spurs boss, the list is absolutely endless of great players that we've had at the club, and they haven't won trophies. Unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, you can go even further than that. I talked about Redknapp earlier. Under Redknapp, yes, we won a trophy 13 years ago, but we had the likes of Berbatov, Keane, Darren Bent, Jermaine Defoe, Modric, Bale, Ledley King. I mean, this is outrageous players. Like, not being funny, these are amazing players that we've had at this football club. And the common denominator isn't the manager. The common denominator isn't even the players. The common denominator isn't even the bloody stadium, the bricks and mortar anymore, is it? That's the common denominator. We all know what the common denominator is, right? So there's the thing. Just quickly on Kane, because I know we've done a lot of stuff on Kane on previous shows and all that. I have got a different perspective on Kane, I have to say. Kane's actually been in the first team for 8 seasons, okay? And the first season I'm going to discount because he didn't play right at the beginning because Adebayor was still playing and then he broke through after that. So I've discounted that. So I'm talking about 7 seasons, right? In 7 seasons, the first 6 games in the Premier League, how many goals do you think Kane scored? On average, first 6 games in the Premier League. Bear in mind, mate, if you've done the research, unbelievable. Absolutely nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Good man. That's the Olympic champions. 2 on average. He scored 2 goals. So what's my point, right? He's gone 2 seasons where he hasn't scored at all during them 6 games, and then he's had obviously a couple of seasons where he scored a few more, but on average, it's 2 goals. He didn't have a pre-season at all this year because he was 2 weeks late, or so the media would lead you believe, but he was 2 weeks coming back from extended leave and so on and so forth. So he didn't get a proper pre-season under his belt. And he hasn't played, as Richard just said, the first 2 games in the Premier League. He didn't even play. So actually, he scored 0 goals against 4 Premier League games and no pre-season, right? Versus 2 on average for the last 7 seasons. So when you put that into context and you have the whole story, I'm not trying to defend Kane's body language. I'm not trying to defend Kane's, eyes and the fact that he's not talking. I think you're all spot on and we can all see that with our own eyeballs. But he didn't want to leave, right? when we played Sheffield United, did he? In that pissing down with rain when we drew 1-1 and we should have lost that game and Pochettino got sacked next day. Kane didn't get an offer from Man City. He didn't want to but his body language that night was absolutely horrific. He walked around a pitch like he didn't want to be there, but he didn't want to leave. So I just want to try and put some, maybe it's the hope. It's the hope that keeps you. It's the hope that kills you, right? But maybe it's the hope, for me with Kane. But to me, he has been the Roy of the Rovers of his football club and absolutely deserves the statue and so on and so forth if he sticks around. If he doesn't want to be there, he shouldn't have signed the golden handshake that he has signed. Now, you might see it in the media, you might not, but I know that he has got a deal for him to stay here for an extra year, right? So he shouldn't have signed it. If he didn't want to stay here, he shouldn't have had it, but he did. So I just think it might be down to he's had no pre-season. Remember the tag with Kane, he never scores in August. Do you remember that? So he's had no pre-season. He's only played 4 Premier League games, not 6. On average, over the last 7 seasons, he's only scored 2 goals on average. So he's not that far behind. And it might be the fact that he's disinterested because actually so are all the other players, because what we're playing is utter dross and woeful football. You're not having it, are you? No one's having it. Kane's out. Kane wants to leave.
Do you know what? I love a stat, Lee. I do love a stat, and I think it's great. Your blue book always intrigues me.
A lot of work in there, Craig.
Unbelievable. I do love a stat. I really do. I love a spreadsheet. I love a stat. But what I'll say is, in previous seasons, when he couldn't score in August, when that first got brought up, he was missing chances. It wasn't like he didn't have any chances. I mean, he's not had or created many chances in for himself this year. And what worries me is the fact the team aren't creating chances, and it does go back. Do you know what I mean? And
I do agree.
Because if we were creating more chances, like under Poch, I think I said it on here before, I'm sure most games we'd create at least 15 to 20 chances or 15 to 20 shots at goal every game. And if it certainly was below 10, it was kind of a surprise. It meant you was up against somebody quite special. There was games when we was approaching 30 shots, on goal.
Again,
how has that changed,
To get the blue book out again on you, but on average, right, under a Pochettino side or an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer side or Sir Alex Ferguson or Arsene Wenger, the top teams of Pep Guardiola, you can pretty much work out this. I don't know what they call it. Is it this point X or GX thing or whatever? I don't know how they're working it out as well. But actually, from a simplistic perspective, you kind of know, right? If you have 8 or 9 attempts at on target, you should be scoring 2 or 3 of them chances. We played Manchester United, didn't we? And David De Gea had an absolute blinder. We lost 1-0 that game. Rashford scored, and then we absolutely battered them at Wembley. Do you remember? It was a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah.
I think we had 13 attempts or 12 attempts on target, and we didn't score, which is an anomaly. But if you play every week playing to go after 8, 9 shots on target or 20 attempts in total, 16, 17 attempts in total, if you're attempting 16 times at goal and you're getting 50% of them on target, you're probably scoring 2 or 3 goals and winning that football match. So why can't, coming back to our tactics and our playbook and our objective piece, why can't we be doing that? Have we got the firepower? Last season, Son was the third top goal scorer in the Premier League, right? Harry Kane was the top goal scorer in the Premier League. Harry Kane was a top assist maker. Son was in the top 5 for making assists. Right, that's just 2 players, and they're still in our football club. So why can't we set the team up to go and do that? Push up 20 yards higher up the pitch, get your defenders defending on the halfway line, not on your bloody 6-yard box, and actually push everybody up. Get your fullbacks bombing on, getting your Reguilon crosses or your Emerson crosses or whatever it might be, and get some creativity. That's the bit. The stats that you wrote out, Chris, 20th, 19th, 20th, it's just not good enough. And that's everything that we've talked about. That's why it can't continue. Something has to change.
My worry, Lee, is those fullbacks aren't bombing forward, and of course we've lost 26 goals as well because of course Carlos Vinicius went back. He scored 10. Gareth Bale last season scored 16. You know, where are those goals coming from? You know, Steven Bergwijn, Dele Alli, Lucas Moura, and co. They need to step up and they need to start scoring the goals. But the big question is, will they do it?
They can't do it. Sorry, Chris, to interrupt, but they can't do it in this current formation and the way that we're set up. It's impossible. No. I'm not going to talk about Dele Alli and the passion I have for the bloke because I love the fella. I absolutely love him. But you know, I get pelters for it because he's been bad and this, that, and the other. But even Dele, like I think Rich, you mentioned right at the beginning, he's not being played in his best position. Like he's going to come out in an interview and go, "Yeah, I'll play wherever the manager wants to play. I'll play on the left-hand side, you know, mopping up down the left." He doesn't want to play there. He wants to play right up and get behind the Kane. Where Kane's got some support. That's where you go and look at some of the goals that he scored. It's unbelievable. Yeah. You know, you look at the same with Mura. You look at the same with Bergwijn. Bergwijn, what's happened to him? You know, we can't keep having these players and then just making them worse. That's what it seems like. He burst on the scene. Outstanding goal against City. Outstanding goal against Manchester United the season after that. You know, and then Jose just seemed to go and defend, and he killed his confidence. It's just madness. We've got. On paper, and the game's not played on paper, and this is the key thing. On paper, we've got the talent to be able to go and attack. This is the point I was making with Ryan Mason. Some people in the comments saying he's not the answer. I'm not saying he is. I think it was Lee Adler, to be fair. Nice name, by the way. But no, I'm not saying Ryan Mason is the answer. But what I'm saying is we created more chances, like what you're saying, Craig, with a front foot attacking style football, because that's what suits our football club, suits our players. It's what we want to do. And that's the bit that's really frustrating.
And I think it's because of the lack of confidence. When you look at a confident Spurs side over the last couple of seasons, we play well, we dominate, we make loads of chances, we score loads of goals. This season, you can see it. You can see in the body language that they're not confident. They don't kind of go in for the tackle. They're always very reserved, and we get bullied by the other teams. You can see it. I could not believe watching the North London derby how we're getting bullied by average players.
I know. Yeah. And it comes back to the point, Craig, that you made a minute ago about that creating chances, is that, you know, in any walk of life or any way that you are, whatever sports person, whatever sport is, if it's business, if it's school, with your children, whatever it is, if you're trying, if you're creating them chances, so to speak, if you're trying, you will get there. You will get some reward. We're not getting our shots off. We're not creating chances. We're not even having a go. You know, if you look at the statistics on the games that we've played, and Richie, you brought up earlier, we were lucky in them first 3 games. The reality is that it wasn't as if we had 20 attempts with 6 or 7 on target. You know, we didn't. We had like 2 or 3. This is fucking embarrassing.
Definitely. Come on.
You know, the biggest worry is we're 6 Premier League games in. We played 3 in the Europa Conference League and we've played 1 in the Carabao Cup. And if I asked all of you, what is your favourite moment of those 10 games so far, we'd probably all say the Manchester City game, which of course was the opening day of the season. You know, since then, there's not been that much to cheer about. Now, let's talk. You know, when I get on to the last question, because I know all of us can talk all night, and as I said before,
sorry, that's my fault. Sorry,
we could all go up on a tangent on all of the problems at the moment. Now we've got Mura tomorrow from Slovenia in the Europa Conference League. Of course, we drew our first game in Group G 2-2 away at Rennes, and then we play Aston Villa on Sunday in the Premier League. Aston Villa. So far in the Premier League are 8th. They've played 6. They've won 3. They've drawn 1. They've lost 2. They've got 10 points. Their last 3 games, a 3-0 defeat away at Chelsea, a 3-0 home win against Everton, and a 1-0 away win at Manchester United. Firstly, Richard, let's come to you. The Europa Conference League. What do you think of this competition? Do Tottenham take it seriously? Are you confident for tomorrow night?
Yeah. I think it should be an opportunity to play the kids, shouldn't it? Really, come on.
Surely it's a must win for Nuno, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's a must win. I think he's got to. If he's thinking like that, then the Aston Villa game is a must win. And I think that's a game where we're expecting a result. And you're playing an Aston Villa side that's full of confidence. The midweek game, are you going to put players in there that are able to replicate that performance at the weekend? That's probably not going to happen. I think there's going to be another change side. He's going to experiment again. Is that the right way to go? Definitely not. It creates confusion. We know that having a solid back four is something that he needs to look at, and he still hasn't got a solid back four. We've seen that on set plays and also mistakes at the back again and again and again. The first couple of games we were talking about, looks like we've got a solid centre-back pairing. Where's that gone? Must win midweek for me, not so. I think performance. It's all about performance, confidence, performance, trying to get some confidence back into those players that have lost it. And then at the weekend, that's the game where we need to put on a performance that makes the fans proud and get a result, not just for the fans, but also for the manager.
Lee, what are your thoughts? Because, of course, we know that Tottenham and Nuno need a win. And as Richard said there, it's all about the performance. We must give a good performance against Mura. But, it's vital that we win against Aston Villa on Sunday, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the game for me. I mean, I think that without being disrespectful to Mura, and Sharif showed yesterday that you can go to the Bernabeu, not being meant to be in the Champions League and go and win, right? So, and again, there's an arrogance there of like, we should be Kane in this competition. No, we shouldn't. I don't think people realise that Pacos de Ferreira were like 5th in their league. Like that's not shabby, right? And I don't think people realise that Rennes were like, what they were in the Champions League. They finished 4th or whatever it is in their division only 2 or 3 seasons, but they didn't get in the Champions League because they only have 3. So people saying, we should go down and batter them. It doesn't work like that. No. Where I'm very frustrated with the football club and the whole no mess and idea piece is this competition, because this competition should be a development competition. This is my opinion, and this would be my objective if I was in charge of a football club, to develop the likes of Scarlett, for example. That is a classic example. He ain't getting any minutes anywhere, right? So where is he going to play? Why isn't he not out on loan if you're not going to develop him in the... how different is he training with the first team than he is to, playing football matches all the time? How much is he going to learn? Like from Kane moping about the training ground, for example, this season. So he needs to play. And then what you, in my opinion, what you can't do is then take that immediately if he don't play well for 60 minutes, haul him off and then put the big boys on. It's ridiculous. Right. You've got to say, this is developing our squad for the next season, okay? And this is what we're going to do. Or you've got to go, we're going to win this thing because we need a trophy and we ain't got one for 13 years, so we go and win it. And then what you do is you play your first team, right? That is what you do. And based on the performance against Arsenal, you could argue that you should put the same bloody team out on Thursday night and go and rectify all that mess that you created on Sunday. Because in that would, to Richard's point, that would give them some confidence and so on and so forth if we go and win. But of course, if we're going to get a draw and Kane's up top and Son's playing, what does that do to you? I think on the Villa game, I don't think I answered your question because personally, I can't get my head around why you'll be playing a first team in this Europa Conference League. I just can't get my head around it. It should be an opportunity for the fringe players, for the squad players to play and to develop and try and make a case for the first team. And if Winks has a bad game, you can't batter him for having a bad game because he's in the development squad, right? That's the whole bloody point. We're trying to get him better. Right.
I get your point, Lee. I get your point. But if Nuno puts a weaker team out and loses the game, what will that do to the fan base?
It depends. It depends on what the fan base's objective is. That's my point. If it's like you absolutely need to win a trophy, this football club needs to win a trophy, then you're going to be really pissed, aren't you, that we went out? But if it's like me, which is it's more important to win league games than it is the Europa Conference League, I won't care. So this is why it's subjective, and this is why I love football and chatting to fans. But this is why the club needs to come out and say this is what our key objectives are. This is what we're going to do. It doesn't belittle the competition because everybody that's playing in the development squad, the message would be right. You're playing. You are my man. Scarlett, you are the man to lead the line in every single Europa Conference League game that we've got your chance to go out and make it happen. And you're not going to get hauled off in 30 minutes if you've had a shocker for Kane to come on because we get desperate. If we go out, we go out. That's development. You get better when you learn from your mistakes. You get outside your comfort zone. That's how you get better. Are you with me? So that would be my objective. With Villa, obviously you play the best 11. That's also subjective. I personally, in the formation that we have, with the defensive frailties that we've got, and with the attacking on paper prowess that we have, I'll play three at the back. That is what I would play, and I would have Romero, Dyer, and Sanchez, and then I'll play five in the middle, and essentially, and then I'll play three up top or two up top. And that's essentially how I'll play. So I would sacrifice a defensive midfield player because I'll be playing three at the back. That's what I would do. I think it would suit us much more, and it would get our attacking players up the pitch, push us right up the pitch. That's what I would do. If he loses to Villa, I think he's sacked. That's what I think.
I'm surprised you haven't mentioned Danny Ingsley.
Look, you're bantering me, Chris. Look, I banged the Danny Ings drum for over 2 seasons.
For people that listen to this channel on a regular basis, same as you, Lee, exactly the same. We have the same view about Danny Ings. 25 million.
I cannot get my head around it. We're screaming out for strikers. He wasn't on huge money. He didn't cost huge money, and he is proper Premier League proven, proper Premier League player. No brainer. You go out and get the geezer. It cost 25 million. Fair play to Aston Villa because they got him, and no one saw that coming. It was just like a deal done in the background almost. But this is the thing, like Tottenham being again one step behind everyone else. I'm not going to say even Villa. That's disrespectful to Villa, but fair play to them. They're just behind the curve, and then we're getting linked with Martinez for not 80, 90 million euros and so on and so forth. And in the back of everyone's mind, you know that ain't going to happen, especially if we keep Kane, because that was a Kane type replacement, really, not alongside. So, Danny Ings was a perfect example. What we don't know, to be fair to the club, because I've given them a bit of a bashing tonight, but what we don't know is if they did have talks. You don't know if they had talks, and Danny went, I ain't playing second fiddle to Kane. I don't know that. What I do know is we had Ben, we had Keane, we had Berbatov, and we had Defoe at one stage, and no one sat there saying I ain't playing second fiddle. What they did was they pulled their socks up to get in the team. And Defoe, I think Defoe that season scored 20 goals in all competitions. I think Berbatov's got 24 goals in all competitions. I think Keane got 22, 23. 3 strikers all scored 20-odd goals in one season. Unbelievable. Still, and what did we win? It's unbelievable, isn't it? Make it up.
Yeah.
Richard, do us a favour. Just show us your medal again.
Yes, Rich. Oh, baby, I love it.
Craig, let's come to you. How are you feeling ahead of these 2 games? Because in my opinion, I think that Nuno does need to put out a fairly good team against Mura on Thursday to get the job done, to get that momentum going again, to get that winning mentality back for Sunday's game. I understand what Lee and Richard are saying, but I think Nuno does need to be putting in a fairly strong team for Thursday. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like everybody else has said, Sunday's the big one for me. But the winning mentality thing, getting on a roll, I can see him going reasonably strong on Thursday. I'm remain unconvinced whether he's going to play Kane, though. To be honest, because you can look at it both ways. We said before, he needs the goal. Do you put him in against a weaker team, probably the weakest team in our group? In the hope he's going to bang in a couple of goals, get a bit of confidence, because strikers, live and breathe on confidence. Or do you let Dane Scarlett have a run? I don't know. I'm kind of in between the two. I think he's going to go semi-strong. I don't think he's going to put out the first team by any stretch. But I think there'll be a few first-choice players in there. Sunday for me is the one. And I kind of agree with Lee, to be honest. I think if we get beaten by Villa, and it wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility over the looking at the last 3 games, if we lose to Villa, it's an international break. And funny things happen during international breaks. They've got 2 weeks to get somebody else in. And it seems crazy to be talking about sacking a manager after, what that will be, 7 Premiership games. It seems absolutely mental. But, you know, that it's a bit different, this one, with Nuno, because I'm not seeing, again, like Lee touched on, I'm not seeing a plan. I'm not seeing
positivity.
Anything, absolutely anything. You know, I'm thinking, is he just another Jose, but not as good as Jose? You know, at least with Jose, you're prepared to give him a bit of time because he had kind of credit in the bank for what he'd done in the past, and you kind of knew what you was getting. With Nuno, I'm just not sure. It's that frustration coming back again, and I think the board are going to be asking themselves questions: should we lose to Villa, or there's no performance against Villa? They're going to be thinking, right, do we get rid of him now before we slip further and he loses the dressing room? Or do we give him a couple of months? Do we give him till Christmas to sort this out? I don't know. I haven't got the answer. Do you give him till Christmas? I think it's too long, personally. I think he's the wrong appointment. I like the guy. He looks like a very nice fella. I just don't think he's right for this football club. And I've always been on the fence. You know me, Chris, when we spoke, I said I didn't want him, but I would get behind him. But I'm not seeing enough from him. I'm just not seeing enough from him. I'm short of saying I want him out because I just don't think that's the right thing to do. But is it the right thing to do? I don't know. You've got to think about this season. This season's massive. If we had any squeak of getting back into the top 4, it's still rescuable now. I don't think we will, by the way. But we're so early in the season. If you get somebody in that can turn it around, now is the time to do it. So push up that table. Or do you stick with Nuno and stick with him and see if he can turn it around? It's a risk. Do you go with, or if you do get rid of him, like Lee says, do you go with a redknapp, ask him, give him a bit of cash, get him to come in for a season to get the players motivated again? For me, Glenn Hoddle, I think, would be a good shout. I've seen Klinsmann mentioned in the comments. I'd love Jurgen Klinsmann. I think he's great. I'm not so sure his managerial record's that good. But we would be attacking, that's for sure. So you would certainly get high-scoring games if that's what you want. So
yeah, get Aussie back, 5 up front, innit?
Yeah, and Aussie and Klinsmann. You know, oh my God, what a fantastic front 5 that was.
We have got 5 strikers.
Yeah, that's right.
I think
I don't know.
Just on that, Craig, I think if I can interact quickly, I think that if Nuno does go, I think the appointment needs to be somebody that knows the club, and that's why I think it. You know, Ryan Mason might be the new David Pleat. I think he caretaker managed us for about 15 times, didn't he? The old Pleaty, and you know, he's done some wonderful work, as John from Lily White Rose always talks about, kind of, you know, through the youth system and stuff, and recommending some amazing players that Spurs, again, some signed and sometimes they didn't. Delhi being one of them, I think. To be fair, but you know, I think, you know, Ryan gets the club, and you know, the Ole situation, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Manchester United, they got the club, and that's what they needed. It's very strange with Spurs because Sir Alex Ferguson was there for 26 years. Arsene Wenger was then down the road for 22 years or whatever, and they've suffered because of that longevity of a manager being in their football club, and they've tried to find their real identity. The funny thing with Tottenham is that Pochettino was there for 5.5 years, but it was a quarter of the time or a fifth of the time to them respective other managers. What's quite interesting is that Pochettino, when them two retired or left, he was the longest serving manager in the Premier League. So, you know, that's also quite another interesting fact, that we keep our default button, certainly us four, and probably loads of viewers as well, and they're probably getting annoyed because we keep bringing them up, but our default button is Pochettino. It is, because our reference point is the highest point that we've been. That's our reference point, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So that's where we go to. And if you look at where we are today as a club, as a, you know, all the infrastructure stuff, way different to where it was 6-7 years ago. But if you look at where we are on the pitch and our managers and our managerial piece and our playing staff, you could argue that we're worse, much worse off than what we was. And that's got to be rectified.
I think it's definitely got to be about performance on Sunday against Villa, because, of course, Pochettino's last Premier League game in charge was the 1-1 draw at the Spurs Stadium against Sheffield United. and they obviously thought that we weren't going to reach top 4, and then they pulled the plug and sacked him. Final question for you all: score predictions. Tomorrow night against Mura, I'm going to go for a 2-0 Spurs win, and then I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw against Aston Villa. Rich, what are you going for?
I think there'd be more goals midweek. I think it'd be 3-0 midweek, and I think we'll nick it 1-0 for the weekend.
Confident?
No, not at all. But that's what I'm saying.
Is it the fact that you've been holding that medal, Rich, has made you feel a little bit more positive?
No, I've just been listening to Lee and all his negativity.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I'm so sorry.
Lee, what are you going for?
I'm actually going to go for. I think 2-0 against Mura. But I have to tell the story. The reason why I'm giving you this prediction for the Villa game is I'm an idiot when it comes to seeing Magpies. 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for girl, 4 for boy, all that jazz, right? And in the 3-0 defeats, I saw separately on all of them occasions 1 Magpie at least 3 times before each of them games, and I'm like, mate, this is ridiculous. This week, I've seen 2 Magpies 3 times in separate occasions, so I think we're going to win 3-1. I think we're going to win 3-1 against Aston Villa. Brilliant.
Craig, what are you going for?
I think Thursday's game I think we'll win. I'll say 3-0 Thursday. It's funny. I knew you was going to ask for a prediction, and last night when we first chatted, Chris, I was all prepared to come in here and say I genuinely think we're going to lose to Villa 1-0. I can't say it now. I'm on live, so I'm going to say 1-1. I'm going to go along with you. There's just part of me thinks we're going to get turned over by Villa because they are no mugs. They are playing very, very well. They are playing very, very well. They're a very good football team, and I just think if that crowd gets on, they see things that they don't like, they're going to get on the players' backs, and I think it could turn very, very toxic. Certainly, if we concede a goal first, I think it's going to really go downhill rapidly. I want to see the reaction.
It's inevitable that we concede, isn't it? It's inevitable that we concede. Or it's like 0-0 until the 89th minute or something, and we're nail biters, and they've been battering us, and Hugo's had a man of the match. I mean, I'm obviously going to be there, like you boys. I'm going to be there on Sunday. Let's try and get behind. It's what we all want. I think you could argue that maybe the board. I don't know, but I think the board and Paratigi and Nuno and the players and the fans, what we all want is a football team that wins 3 points on Sunday, right? That's what we want. So let's try. I've moaned all night, but let's try and get behind the team and sing some songs and just have some fun, because if we're going to lose, we may as well have some fun, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, we may as well try and have some sing songs and just, and just have a bit of fun. Celebrate the fact that football's back, that people back in the stadium, we get to meet all of our old mates and all the gatherings and all that sort of, stuff, that community stuff that means a lot. A lot of people go to football not to watch the stuff on the pitch because it's dross, but actually to meet up and have these conversations. So let's hope that we can get a positive result that we can have, but just have a performance that we can get behind. That's all we want. Tottenham fans, Tottenham players, come on, manager, right? I know you don't watch this. Maybe you might do because it's Chris Cowlin's show, but just make it. You said that you're going to make us proud, so go out and do it. Go out and make us proud and let us sing some songs and get behind you and get that good feeling back again. And it starts tomorrow, but it continues on Sunday and then beyond. We can't go into a run of these next games. We've got West Ham, we've got Manchester United coming up. We can't go into a run of them games without another win. We have to win on Sunday. It is a must-win game, and if not, I think he's going to go.
Do you know what, Lee? It's funny. Sorry, Chris. Do you remember we were chatting in the car on the way back from that dinner thing we went to, the 61? It's funny you say that, Lee, about people watching this stream. And, of course, Ben Foster was on the other week, wasn't he? So you just never know who's watching live, who goes back and watches these. And that's why I try to be as polite and respectful, but, I'm entitled to my opinion. I do try. And And it does make me wonder if any of the players do sit and watch this in the evenings, because obviously Chris is very popular Spurs YouTube channel, and I'm thinking to myself, if I was playing for Tottenham, would I watch? And I probably would. I mean, we know Sonny used to watch your channel when you was doing the panels and all that with the stadium.
Cassettes, Chris.
You know what I mean? I'm sure he would have watched a few. And why wouldn't you? Out of morbid curiosity to hear what fans are saying and typing in the comments. I would. All right, if it was too toxic, I'd definitely switch off and wouldn't listen. But
I don't think it is though, Craig. I think you're right. It isn't that toxic, to be fair. And the reality is, I will back the manager and I'll back the players and so on and so forth. Tonight, I'm giving my opinion. I'm giving my emotional opinion. This is real. This is what we feel. Yeah. This is what we bring home to our families. This is what we're sharing, right? And this is how it is. Yeah. But on Sunday, I'm not going to be standing there booing and hoping that he gets fired. I want him to go and score 4 or 5 goals and be an unbelievable success. That's what I want. I want Kane to be smiling. I want the players to be playing with smiles on their faces. Rich, how important is that? Richard, how important is that in sport to be in a way that you enjoying what you're doing?
And sharing that experience, sharing that win, it's uplifting. Obviously, with not having the fans in the stadium, it has a massive impact. And our stadium is world class. It's world class. I was at the boxing like you boys were, and just to be in there, being pitch side, it makes you feel how important it is to have fans behind you. And when we get behind the team, it is awesome. And that's what we need. We needed that against Villa. I think we're going to beat Villa, but it needs to change. And I think the fans have got a massive part to play in that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think all of us have certainly vented our frustrations tonight. So thank you so much all for coming on. At the end of the day, as you said, Lee, we all want the same thing. The board, the manager, the players and the fans, we all want 3 points tomorrow night. We all want 3 points on Sunday. And of course, we want 3 points every single week when we play. Whether we get it or not is another thing. But yeah, we will support the manager. We will support the players and get behind them. So let's hope that we do get the wins that we desperately need. Craig, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
No problem at all. Always a pleasure, Chris. Come on, you Spurs.
And Lee, thank you so much as always, bringing your positivity to this channel.
I'm not sure I did that. I did a lot of talking, to be fair. So thanks for bearing with me and thanks for having me on. I love being on. So thanks for letting me share this wonderful channel with yours, Chris.
And Richard, thank you so much as always. Great to have you back. And what's next for you now?
What is next? London Marathon weekend. So just go for a bit of a trot and then have a bit. I know exactly, yeah. And then a bit of time off with the family, and it all starts again towards Paris in a couple of years' time, 3 years' time. But most of all, a bit more time watching the old Spurs.
Oh yes, that's exactly what you need.
Lee,
Richard, great. Thank you so much. Can't thank you enough. I can't believe that we've been talking for nearly 2 hours, and there's probably so much more that we could have covered. So thank you so much for all of your time. Thanks to everybody for watching, and thank you so much for all of your comments, etc., and supporting this channel, subscribing, etc. Let's hope that Tottenham can get the 3 points in Group G on Thursday evening, and come on, you Spurs.